Hello, good morning, student. We are discussing lesson number 6, Indian struggle against colonialism. The Indian independence movement was a series of activities with the ultimate aim of ending the British rule in India. If we talk about the movement span, it was from 1857 to 1947. The first nationalistic revolutionary movement for Indian independence, it emerged from Bengal. It later took root in the newly formed Indian National Congress with prominent moderate leaders seeking only for their fundamental rights to appear for Indian civil service examination in British India, as well as more rights for the people of the soil. The early part of the 20th century saw a more radical approach towards political self rule proposed by leaders such as Lal Bal Pal and Aurobindo Ghosh, as well as Chidambaram Pillai. The last stages of the self rule struggle from the 1920 was characterized by Congress adoptions of Mahatma Gandhi's policy of non-violence and civil disobedience and several other campaigns. Nationalists like Subhash Chandra Bose, Bhagat Singh, Bhagat Jatin Surya Sen preached armed revolution to achieve self-rule. Poets and writers such as Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, Subramania Bharati, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay and Qazi Nazrul Islam, they use their literature, poetry and speech as a tool for political awareness. Feminists like Sarojini Naidu promoted the emancipation of Indian women and their participation in national politics. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar championed the cause of the disadvantaged sections of Indian society within the more significant self-rule movement. The period of the World War II saw the peak of campaigns by the Quit India movement led by Congress and Indian National Army movement led by Subhash Chandra Bose with the help of Japan. The Indian self-rule movement was a mass-based movement that encompassed various sections of society. It also underwent a process of constant ideological evolutions. Although the underlying ideology of the campaign was anti-colonial, it was supported by a vision of independent capitalist economic development coupled with a secular, democratic, republican and civil libertarian political structure. Students, after the 1930s movement took on a strong socialist orientation. The work of these various movements ultimately led to the Indian Independence Act 1947. 26 January 1915, when the Constitution of India came into force, establishing the Republic of India. Pakistan was a dominion until 1956, when it adopted its first republican constitution. So student, today we are going to continue with our lesson, and here we are going to see some more moments which happened before independence. In the last lecture we had discussed about the work of Gandhiji, and today we are going to continue with his work. So in the last lecture we had talked about that when Gandhiji he came to India in 1950. So that time in 1970 he took up the issues of farmers from the Champaranya in Bihar. So that time the farmers, they were forced to cultivate only indigo, and not only that, they also used to buy indigo from them at very low rates. So Gandhiji, he decided to protest against this exploitation of the farmers and to reveal the farmers from their problems by doing satyagraha. After that, we talk about Jallianwala Bagh Hatyakand, which happened 13th April 1990. On this day, General Dyer, he opened fire on the people who were present at Jallianwala Bagh. They were celebrating Baisakhi festival, and in this incident, 100 innocent people were killed and thousands of them were injured. Because of this thing, it created the wave of anger throughout India. Rabindranath Tagore, he criticized this act in very severe terms and gave up his title Sir. Next act by Mahatma Gandhi, it was non-cooperation movement. It was launched on 5th March 1920 by Mahatma Gandhi with the aim of self-governance and obtaining full independence as the Indian National Congress. Withdraw its support from British reforms following the Rowlatt Act of 20th March 1990 and the Jallianwala Bagh massacre of 13th April 1990. Gandhi's planning of the non-cooperation movement, it's included persuading all Indians to withdraw their labor from any activity that sustained British government and economy in India, including British industries and educational institutions, in addition to promoting self-reliance by spinning khadi, buying Indian made goods only and doing away with English clothes. Gandhiji's non-cooperation movement called for the restoration of the Khilafat in Turkey and end of untouchability. The resulting public held meetings and strikes led to the first arrest of both Jawaharlal Nehru and his father Motilal Nehru on 6th December 1921. Next important movement from history is the Salt March, which is also known as the Salt Satyagraha, Dandi March and Dandi Satyagraha. It was an act of non-violent civil disobedience in colonial India, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi. The 24-day march lasted from 12th March 1930 to 6th April 1930 as a direct action campaign of tax resistance and non-violent protest against British salt monopoly. Another reason for this march was that the civil disobedience movement needed a strong inaugurations that would inspire more people to follow Gandhiji's example. Mahatma Gandhi started this march with 79 of his trusted volunteers, walking 10 miles a day for 24 days. The march spanned over 240 miles from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, which was called Navsari at that time. Growing numbers of Indians joined them along the way. When Gandhi broke the salt laws at 6:30 am on 6th April 1930, it sparked large-scale acts of civil disobedience against British Raj salt laws by millions of Indians. Now student, next great personality we are going to talk about is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. You must have heard that तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा. These words were by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. When there was World War II in the year 1939, so that time Hitler, he pushed Europe in the World War II. So that time British government, they didn't ask India and they decided to involve India as one of the participant countries in the war. When Mahatma Gandhi, came to know about this thing. So that time he and the Indian National Congress, they were against this decision of British government. In this war, Japan decided to fight as Germany's allied nation, means Germany's supportive nation. So Japan conquered the regions under British rule in Southeast Asia. That time many Indian soldiers in the British army, they were taken captive by the Japanese army. Raj Bihari Bose built Azad Hind Sena by recruiting these Indian soldiers, and later it was recognized under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose. In the year 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose, he established Azad Hind Sarkar in Singapore. At the end of the year 1943, he almost conquered Andaman and Nicobar. He said, तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा, means give me your blood, I'll give you independence. And this speech by him, it turned into a key slogan among Indians. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose conquered the Arakan province and the British outpost on the east border of Assam in the year 1944. The soldiers of Azad Hind Sena kept fighting in very adverse conditions. They could not reach and capture Imphal. Student, next is Quit India movement. In August 1942, Gandhiji started Quit India movement and decided to launch a mass civil disobedience movement. Do or die call to force the British to leave India. The movement was followed nonetheless by large-scale violence directed at railway stations, telegraph offices, government buildings and other emblems and the institutions of the colonial rule. There were widespread act of the sabotage, and the government held Gandhi responsible for these acts of violence, suggesting that they were a deliberate act of Congress policy. However, all the prominent leaders were arrested, the Congress was banned, and the police and the army were brought out to suppress the movement. Meanwhile, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who steadily ran away from the British detention in Calcutta, reached foreign lands and organized the Indian National Army, that is INA, to overthrow the British from India. The Second World War broke out in September of 1939, and without consulting the Indian leaders, India was declared a warring state, means on behalf of the British, by the Government General Subhash Chandra Bose. With the help of Japan, preceded fighting the British forces, not only freed Andaman and Nicobar Island from the Britishers but also entered the northeastern border of India. But in 1945, Japan was defeated and Netaji proceeded from Japan through an aeroplane to a place of safety but met with an accident, and it was given out that he died in that air crash itself. The Quit India movement was violently suppressed by the British government. People were shot, lathi charged, villages burnt, and enormous fines imposed. In the 5 months up to December 1942, an estimated 60,000 people had been thrown in jail. However, though the movement was quelled, it changed the character of the Indian freedom struggle, with the masses rising up to the articulate as they had never before the British master would have to quit India. In this movement, Mahatma Gandhi said, "Today I am going to give you the mantra, do or die, do or die." And he insisted people that they should take the oath to which we commit ourselves. Prepare to sacrifice yourself for this oath. Gandhiji's words created new spirit among Indians. Before the day of 9th August could see sunlight, all major leaders like Gandhiji, Maulana Azad, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, all these great leaders were arrested by British government. The government put ban on public gatherings, speeches, rallies, protestation. It sealed all the offices of Indian National Congress in the country. The resistance put up by all aged and young in the village like Chimur, Ashi, Yavli, Mahad, Gargoti, etc., with the steadfastness and courage will indeed be remembered forever. Not only the great leaders, but we can see that in this movement, by the end of 1942, common people also they took part. Its leadership was assumed by the young socialist leaders like Jayaprakash Narayan, Dr. Ram Mohan Lohia, Achutrao Patwardhan, Aruna Asaf Ali, S.M. Joshi, N.G. Gore were on the forefront among them. After this movement, student, we can see there were several revolutionary groups were established in India on the local levels. The groups like Azad Dasta, which was established by Bai Kotwal in Karjat Taluka, Lal Sena revolutionary group, it was established in Nagpur by General Avri, left no alternative to the British government but to pray God. In Mumbai, Vittal Javeri, Usha Mehta and their colleagues started a transmission centers named as Azad Radio. So student, here we can see almost in every part of India the people now they decided uh, to raise their voice against British government. So in 1942 also some parts from India people they were successful to remove the British governors in Midanapur district, which is in Bengal, Balia, which is in UP, and Bhagalpur, Purnia, which is in Bihar, near Azamgarh, the British officers were forced to leave their offices. Common people they took charge of the governors at these places. Here, student, one more important name will get, and that is Nana Patil, who was popularly known as Kranti Singh. He was an Indian independence activist, freedom fighter, and member of parliament for the Communist Party of India, representing Bid district of Marathwada region. He was a source of inspiration for the people. Earlier, he had been a founder of revolutionary Prati Sarkar formed in Yedam Chindra Sangli district of West Maharashtra. Kranti Singh Nana Patil established a parallel government in the district of Satara. So, what was the impact of all this? In this period, the foundation of British rule it became weak in India because everywhere the anger was there from every section, from every part of India. Common people also they came together and they raised their voice against British government. So the Quit India movement was an expression of the strong opposition of the Indian people to the British rule. The British administration became aware that it will be difficult for them to rule Indians any longer. And the end of the British Empire was evident to them. The rebellion of the sailors of the British Indian Navy in 1946 added to the unrest against the British. So when the possibility of India becoming free nation had become evident, so that time Muhammad Ali Jinnah and his party, the Muslim League, they insisted on that they wanted separate nation for the Muslims. And there were many communal riots in many parts of the country, and it finally resulted in the partition of the country. So in this map you can see that the orange color, it shows the India's part, and the green color which was separated from India, which is known today as a Pakistan. So um, August 1947, in the month of August, finally the India and Pakistan, two separate nations, came into existence. At the conclusion of the Second World War, the Labour Party under Prime Minister Attlee came to power in Britain. The Labour Party was largely sympathetic towards Indian people for freedom. A cabinet mission was sent to India in March 1946, which, after a careful study of the Indian political scenario, proposed the formation of an interim government and convening of the Constituent Assembly comprising members elected by the provincial legislature and nominees of the Indian state. An interim government which was formed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. However, the Muslim League refused to participate in the deliberations of the Constituent Assembly and pressed for the separate state for Pakistan. Thus, India became free at the stroke of midnight on August 14, 1947. Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of Free India and continued till 1964. Giving voice to the sentiments of the nation, Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, "Long years ago we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we will redeem our pledge. Not wholly or in full measures, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, or when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when the age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. We end today a period of ill fortune, and India discover herself again." Early, a Constituent Assembly was formed in July 1946 to frame the Constitution of India. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected its president. The Constitution of India, which was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26 November 1949. On January 26, 1950, the Constitution was came into the force, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected the first President of India. The Constitution of Independent India came into implementation on 26 January 1950. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's visions was the major force in shaping the Constitution of India. In this constitution, we can see the fundamental values are added on which the struggle for India's freedom was founded included liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice. And all these values have built the foundation of Indian Constitution. So student, here we have finished with our chapter number 6. In the next lecture we are going to take doubt clearing session. If you have any doubts, so keep it ready with you. So when the live session will be there, that time you can ask me. Thank you and have a nice day.